So what are the techniques of preventing fire and explosion caused by liquid fuels? First, the exclusion of ignition source. Those material that were already been or materials that were already been consumed must be removed because there is possible because the source of ignition can still produce heat that can also support combustion when there is insufficient oxygen. And exclusion of air supply, that is how are you can make use of any form that can stop the penetration or infiltration of the oxygen or even the air. You can make use of to cover a cloth that has a higher LOI or limited oxygen index or limiting oxygen index. Okay, so that is how you do it. You try to cover or to stop the penetration or to extinguish the penetration of the oxygen, okay, or the air. Next is the shutting off the fuel supply if possible. Okay, if possible, shutting off. Kapag let's say for example, parang gripo yan, then you have to shut off, and then afterwards you have to make a way that when the make a way to extinguish by making use of water. Okay, to stop the continuous burning of the fire. But make sure that you could able to extinguish all, not only the by calling, because there is a possibility that it will reignite. We have already discussed that even you try to extinguish by calling, by putting water, because the fuel can still remain on top, that it will reignite when there is again application of a spark. Next is the keeping liquids is closed container. Okay? Keeping liquids in closed container because when exposed to heat tapos lalabas si oxygen or papasok si oxygen, magkakaroon ng explosion. Remember, all you have to do is to remove one of the elements. If the only way is to remove the oxygen is to put the liquid into a container. Okay? Because there is possibility na pag nahulog yung or light or yung sigarilyo mo, ayun, yun na lang ko lang kasi exposed to oxygen na. There is already air. Diba? Pag nahulog yung sigarilyo, it will explode. And then next is proper ventilation to prevent the accumulation of vapor within a flammable range. Kung alam na mo naman na puros chemicals ang meron yan, liquids ang dyan, you have to make sure na hindi magkakaroon ng increase of temperature inside the room. So that's the essence of placing or installing ventilation. Okay, to avoid the possibility that the temperature will increase. Otherwise, when the temperature increases and when the container or even the liquid cannot contain the temperature, and once there is a sufficient or when there is an oxygen to support combustion, it will explode. Next is using an atmosphere of inert gas instead of air. Okay? Instead of air. Then calling the liquid to stop evaporation. Then combination of the above can be applied much better. Yung sinabi dito na using an atmosphere of inert gas instead of air kasi when there is an inert gas which does not supply or which did not support because inert gas does not support combustion. It's the air that purely a higher oxygen content can support the combustion.